So if you watch this channel for much time at all, you will know that I am a fan of a show called Timcast, and got a short video today. I don't know exactly how long it's going to be, and a lot of this is just kind of off the top of my head. I was listening to their episode from last night at the time of recording today, and there is an individual on there. If you watch Timcast, you'll know him. His name is Phil Labonte. He's the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. He's an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. And if you know Timcast, you'll know that that is how he introduces himself every time that he is on. But I like Phil quite a bit. He actually is, from what I have seen of him on the show politically, he is pretty close to where I feel like I'm at on many things. He is also, I think, either Catholic curious or Christian curious, maybe, but he does describe himself as agnostic. He thinks there's probably something there, but he doesn't know what it is. But I feel he's pretty genuine in a lot of stuff that he says. He's not hateful towards Christianity. He is actually pretty friendly towards Christianity in general as well. But there was something that was said on the episode I was watching, and I thought it was an interesting point that I don't think it gets to the place where a lot of people think that it gets. So we're going to listen to the clip, listen to what he said, then we're going to jump in and see what I'll give my thoughts on it. And we have it's a short clip, and it'll be the playback speed will be a little bit higher than what the normal play speed is. But there's Phil. We'll give a little bit, and then we'll go to Kevin Sorbo was the guest, and he is on as well. He'll be on this clip, and he will go immediately after Phil, and then we'll jump back out. And this comes in the middle of a broader conversation about the birth rate and just the number of people that we have and how we could get the birth rate up. There is another individual who made the comment. I don't remember exactly who it was, but another individual that made the comment that essentially the world, or the United States, going back to religiosity. So people going back to being Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, whatever, will be the thing that would actually cause the birth rate to increase. And I think there's definitely some truth to that. The birth rate among Christians is higher than the average. Still probably needs to be up higher, but this came as a result of that conversation, that comment being made. So let's jump in here. And this is Phil. We'll listen to him, and then we'll listen to Kevin Sorbo. I don't think I'm probably going to jump in a whole lot. I'll let this play through. It should only be like a couple minutes. So let's play through, and then I'll give my thoughts.
It does, because part of the reason why society, modern secular society, doesn't have the same type of faith is because science has actually answered a lot of things that were not answered before. And if you couldn't answer the questions, people would say, well, maybe it's God, or we don't understand. Not to say that there is no room for God in a secular or in a modern society, but that is going to inevitably make people say, well, if we can actually figure these things out, maybe God isn't real. Nobody thinks, oh, lightning is God anymore. Nobody thinks that the sun coming up and going down is because God wills it. Don't do it. The point that I'm making is, with a modern society like we have, a lot of those questions are answered. And so I do think that the lack of religion leaves basically a God-shaped hole in people's lives. But I also think that people are reluctant to fill it with religion because they feel like, well, that's old, that's the questions have been answered, science has answered that. And so I think that's a significant reason as to why I'd be interested in what you guys think of that.
Interesting. I did a documentary that's coming out. It's called Against the World. I did it with John Lennox. John Lennox is very famous. John Lennox is amazing. Yeah. He's an apologist, retired math professor from Oxford
I'll second that. John Lennox is phenomenal.
University. We shot 3 weeks in Oxford, 2 weeks in Israel. and it's called Against the World. It's about proving God in a world of science. And I call it apologetics for dummies like me, because he's amazing and he's brilliant. And I think everybody should watch this. You don't have to be a person of faith to watch this, just to listen to what he has to say. And you'll see clips of him debating Singer and Dawkins and Hitchens, really world famous atheists. And he kills them with kindness, is what he kills them with, more than anything else. And it's just pretty fantastic. I want people to check it out. It's coming out later this year. It's called Against the World. And it's, I look at the stars at night and I go, well, somebody made this and it wasn't me, and that's where I believe there's a God, there's an intelligent design behind this, because I can look at this desk right here and I go, where do you think this came from? Somebody made it. I go, exactly. I don't have all the answers either, but if I look at the infinity, that it just goes forever and there's billions of galaxies out there or something, it's pretty mind-boggling to think that it just happened. I don't have all the answers, but to me, I believe there's a higher power that created all this.
Yeah. So I think Kevin Sorbo kind of gets at the point that I want to make here a little bit, maybe not as in-depth or fleshed out as what I would like to do, and hopefully I'll be able to do and do it justice. But the argument that Phil makes, that there is science that explains a lot of these things that we used to not be able to explain. So he used the example of lightning and the example of the sun rising and setting, right? And yes, we now, through scientific means, we now have an explanation of how those things happen. But does that actually eliminate the need for a God? And I'm not saying I don't think Phil was necessarily making this argument. I think he was articulating that there are people that see it this way, that there seems to be less mystery, so people will be less likely to go to a God because they don't feel it's necessary, because they can explain how we have lightning, or how the sun rises in the morning and it sets in the evening. So I did want to throw that out there. I don't think he's making the argument that necessarily he himself says we can explain this so we don't need a God anymore. But looking at that view, we can explain how these things work. So does that mean that we no longer need a God because we understand these processes? I would say no, that's not at all. Honestly, I think you could make a pretty good case that this makes it even more likely that there must be some type of intelligent design. Because think about the lightning example, okay? So we know that lightning is electricity being discharged from clouds to cloud or cloud to ground. It's not some, the Greeks, I believe the Greeks thought that Zeus would throw lightning bolts down, right? Maybe they didn't actually think that. Maybe I got that from cartoons or something. But this idea that there's a God up there who's literally throwing lightning bolts down to the ground, we know that's not the case. There's a scientific explanation for this, but you still need something that gets the clouds there, gets the electricity there, that provides an atmosphere that is conductive enough that the electricity can transfer between one cloud to another, or the cloud to the ground. All that has to be there. And if you're saying it's not a God, then you're saying it's just random chance. Or how about the sunrise? Seeing the sun come up every day and go down every day. If we now know that is a result of the sun being in place, the Earth orbiting around the sun and spinning as it orbits around the sun. So it looks like the sun is rising and then setting, but really it's our perspective as our planet is rotating and facing the sun and then not facing the sun and going that way. So does that mean we don't need a God to explain that? No. Again, I would say this pushes the question even more, that we need a God, because our planet is situated perfectly in a spot where it's close enough to the sun that our planet is warm enough for life to survive, to not freeze, but far enough away that we're not being cooked alive. right? Look at both planets closest to us. Venus, one planet closer to the sun than we are. And it is, what's the temperature on Venus? I'm going to look this up real quick because I don't know it offhand. The temperature on Venus, oh, it's not too bad. It's only 867 degrees Fahrenheit. So, we could not survive. We could not survive on Venus. How about Mars? Right? I know there's a lot of talk of Elon Musk colonizing Mars, right? And we're gonna have a Mars campus at one point. Maybe, but the average temperature on Mars is negative 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Now it's possible humans could live there, but it would take a lot, right? It would take a lot. Yeah, so the coldest recorded temperatures on Earth is slightly colder than the average temperature on Mars. The coldest recorded temperature on Earth is 89.2 degrees, and so those are the planets closest to us, the one closer to the sun than us and the one further away from the sun than us. But Earth so happens to be placed right there where it's just close enough to where we have the heat, we have the sunlight, we have a temperature here that is sufficient for life to not just survive but thrive in various different forms. Things like the level of nitrogen that is in our atmosphere is the balance that is needed. The probability of that happening on its own, I forget the number, but the equivalent would be if you take one nickel, paint it red, and then you have an area the size of the state of Texas and fill it with nickels. I believe it's like up to the moon, and you put that one red nickel in there, and or not up to the moon, maybe up to your knees or something like that. I forget the exact exact height, but it's a lot of nickels. But anyways, you put that one in there, you walk into the middle, you reach down and blindly grab one. It would be the probability that you would pull out the correct nickel. Like, that is statistically that's basically zero. So even if you're getting rid of this other stuff, even if we have explanations for how this stuff happens, does that really give us a reason to not believe in God or not think that there's a God or have faith that there's a God? I think really quite on the contrary, that it is the exact opposite. As we have a better understanding of the scientific process of how things work here on our planet, as we understand this stuff better, we understand how much more complicated it is than what we really thought, and how finite things had to be done, which suggests that there is some type of a design in it, not random chance. There's some type of, and even if you believe in evolution, there are theistic evolutionists that believe in evolution, and they believe it was a guided process. It wasn't random chance. So that does not negate the need for a God. I just thought that was an interesting point. And like I said, it goes immediately back to the rest of the conversation that they were having. But
if you haven't exercised in years.
Sorry, YouTube played an ad. It goes back into the other conversation. But I thought it was an interesting point. I heard that, and I thought it'd be worth maybe throwing some thoughts out there. So this is shorter. I hope you guys appreciate this, and let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you think that this is genuinely maybe pushback, if you think I answered this sufficiently, let me know. If you think that there's something else that could be a better response to this, let me know as well. And they brought up Kevin Sorbo brought up John Lennox. If you have not seen John Lennox, you need to go watch anything you can of his. Absolutely, just brilliant man. He is very funny. He is very witty. There is a debate, I believe it's a debate at Oxford between, maybe it's not Oxford, but it's a debate between him and, there's one between him and Richard Dawkins that's really good, and there's one between him and Christopher Hitchens that is also really good. But he is excellent at being able to really dismantle arguments that are presented to him. Does a phenomenal job in the apologetics realm, defending the idea of a God and a creator. If this kind of stuff interests you, you should go check out his stuff. I'll also throw out, and I'll put a link to this in the description. I'll put a link to this book in the description, but also a link to a video where I actually had him on. Braxton Hunter has a book called Core Facts, and it is basically going over some of this. It is an argument for the existence of a God, and that God being Jesus, a defense of that God being Jesus. So I will link to a video where I actually was able to have him on, and we discuss some of these topics using apologetics for the purpose of evangelism, not just trying to win arguments, but trying to win souls. And I will link to his book as well if you're interested in it at all. If you have the ability to, I would go check that out. Support any of these guys, because they're doing a lot of really awesome stuff. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as all those things help the channel grow. If this has been a blessing to you, you can share it with somebody else. It can be a blessing to them, and word of mouth is the best way that podcasts grow as well. So that can be something that helps this channel as well. Come back every single day. We're going to have more content every single day. Bible reading plan. We're going through the Bible an entire year, different teachings, all kinds of just really great biblical sound stuff like that. So you're not going to want to miss it. Come back, subscribe. Thanks. God bless.